For Emily and Daniel Cross, life in Maple Ridge Estates had always been about calm predictability. Every house stood at equal distance, every tree pruned the same height, and every neighbor waved on their morning walk. It was the kind of place where children played freely, where fences were low because trust was high. The HOA had promised a forever single-family community, and that's exactly what attracted them. But one quiet morning, Daniel awoke to the sound of engines roaring outside. He looked out the window. Bulldozers were digging into the empty green space at the end of their cul-de-sac. At first, he assumed it was landscaping maintenance. By noon, construction trailers rolled in, and a large sign went up, "Future site of Maple Ridge Villas." Emily felt her chest tighten. Villas? There weren't supposed to be any villas. The next HOA meeting was packed. Angry homeowners filled the hall, demanding answers. The HOA president, Carl Brenner, remained calm behind his polished smile. "These units," he explained, "are a community enhancement project. The land technically falls under HOA jurisdiction, and this development will increase property values." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A neighbor, Mrs. Jensen, stood up trembling. "That greenbelt was part of our shared space agreement." Carl's response was quick and rehearsed. "According to the new amendment, which passed last quarter, it's been rezoned for limited residential use." Emily exchanged a glance with Daniel. They'd never received notice of any vote. When Daniel asked for proof of homeowner consent, Carl simply replied, "The board approved it." "That's all the consent we need." The meeting erupted in chaos. Daniel didn't trust Carl's calmness. The next day, he started digging, not in the dirt, but through records. He requested copies of HOA minutes, land use amendments, and zoning filings. It didn't take long to uncover inconsistencies. Signatures on the amendment documents were digitally added, and one belonged to a neighbor who'd moved out months before. Worse, the construction contract listed Brenner Development, LLC, the same name as the HOA president. Emily couldn't believe it. "He's literally building his own villas with our dues," she said in disbelief. They reached out to the city's zoning department. But Carl had already greased the wheels. Permits had been approved under community redevelopment. Their voices, as individual homeowners, were drowned in legal jargon and bureaucracy. But Daniel had an idea. Daniel contacted a small local journalist, Lena Ortiz, known for covering civic corruption stories. He invited her to see Maple Ridge firsthand. As the heavy machinery tore into what used to be the children's play area, Lena recorded interviews with upset families. "You're telling me," she asked Daniel on camera, "that your HOA president owns the company behind this?" He nodded. Within days, the video spread online under the title, "The HOA That Sold Its Own Neighborhood." It quickly gained traction, and public opinion turned fiery. Local TV stations arrived. Under pressure, Carl called an emergency meeting, declaring that everything was done legally and for the good of the community. But his composure cracked when Lena stood up in the audience and played a leaked audio clip, Carl's voice saying, "We can build first and apologize later." The next week, Daniel received a letter from the HOA stating he was in violation for unauthorized filming of community property and fined $5,000. Neighbors who appeared in the video began receiving similar notices. Emily tried to reason with Carl, but he refused to meet. Construction continued nonstop, walls rising fast. The neighborhood began to split. Some residents wanted the new villas, hoping for higher values. Others stood with the Crosses, demanding accountability. Late one night, Daniel's security camera caught workers spray painting Lot 47 expansion across his fence, his own backyard, now marked for development. Emily broke down in tears. "They're taking everything," she whispered. Daniel promised her not without a fight. Daniel filed a complaint with the county inspector general, attaching Lena's evidence and the forged signatures. Weeks later, investigators arrived unannounced at the HOA office. Construction stopped mid-hammer. Carl's confident tone vanished when the inspector produced an order freezing development pending review. It turned out the HOA's amendment vote had never been properly certified. The board was dissolved temporarily, and residents cheered as bulldozers were towed away. For the first time in months, Maple Ridge felt quiet again. Emily baked cookies for the neighbors, celebrating their victory. "You did it," she told Daniel, smiling for the first time in weeks. He smiled back, though uneasily. Something about Carl's smirk during that final meeting lingered in his mind. 3 months later, the calm shattered again. A letter arrived from the county planning office. Revised development application approved. Attached was a map. Half of Maple Ridge, including the Crosses Street, had been reclassified as Phase 2 housing zone. When Daniel rushed to the site, he saw new signs with a different logo: Silverstone Properties. The new development company was registered under Lena Ortiz's name, the same journalist who'd exposed the corruption. She had bought the stalled project rights for pennies after Carl's suspension. As bulldozers returned, Daniel realized the truth. In Maple Ridge, justice had never been about right or wrong, just about who held the deed next. The camera pans out over the growing construction site as the Crosses house stands in the shadow of rising villas, a neighborhood divided forever.